Hi guys, my name is Megan and today I've got some of my favorite underrated books for you. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about some of my very favorite underrated books. One of them is a newly released book, but still I don't feel like people are talking about it enough. Let's just go ahead and dive into today's little stack. Alright, so the first one up is If It Makes You Happy. This book honestly made me cry when I read it and it's just fantastic. It's about Winnie, who is just trying to live her best life. This one has a queer platonic relationship. It's got bisexual characters. Winnie is a plus size or a fat girl and I love her to pieces, and there's so much in this book about positive fat representation, but there's also like huge chunks of text that I highlighted just because like it hit home for me. And honestly, this book deserves so much more love than it gets, and I feel like if you haven't read this book, you definitely should because it's amazing and it's one of the best contemporary books I've ever read. Okay, next is a book I can't really shut up about because I need more people to read it, and that is The Last Son. I have an entire video dedicated to why you should read this book and this series, and I will leave that linked above. You know, this is one of my favorite queer-led fantasy series, and I just love Rune and Bran and the whole Sun Court. They like find a way to burrow into your heart and they just won't leave. But definitely, if you want to dive into this one, please check for trigger warnings before you dive in because this one does get a little dark at points. But I mean, it's a fantastic series. Next up is White Trash Warlock. This is another series that I can't really stop talking about because it's also fantastic. And it's another queer-led story. This follows Adam Binder, who has the sight so he can see ghosts and fae creatures and magic, and like, it's fantastic. Also, please check trigger warnings on this one as well because this one does get a little dark too. I don't even know how to explain this one because it's like an adventure between our world and the fae world, and it's like Death is the main character and like it's fantastic. And I love Adam. He's funny and sarcastic and sweet and honestly one of the best characters I've ever read. Okay, so next up is a relatively newer release, and that is Bite Me. This is the first book in the Spooky Boys series, and I loved this book to pieces. Blair and Richard are some of the best main characters. Also, please check trigger warnings for this one because this one also gets a little dark at points, but the characters are fantastic. The story is fantastic. The world building is fantastic. And I mean, I love them. This story is so cool. Like the atmosphere is very cool. So it's an urban fantasy. So the town that Blair ends up going back to, it's his hometown. He has kind of forgotten about supernatural creatures after having not lived there for majority of his life. And Richard happens to be a vampire. And also he is tasked with like sussing out if Blair is in town to cause problems or not, and like them falling in love. And it's just so cute and sweet, and just like this story is a lot. There's a lot going on and I love it. And it's one that I would highly recommend if you love urban fantasy and paranormal romance. And then the last book I'd like to recommend, or you know, that I feel like is one of those books that's severely underrated, is Thescape Racers. This follows Sideways Pike, who is kind of dabbling in witchcraft and becoming a witch in her own right. And she's kind of a loner, and the popular girls kind of hire her to do some witchy tricks at their pre-Halloween party, and something goes wrong, and you know, the popular girls actually kind of end up adopting Sideways and try to help her get a girlfriend. And like the girls in this are completely unhinged and I love them. And like this book kind of like drips neon teenage horror vibes, and like these girls form a coven and it's just fantastic. Would highly recommend, and it needs more love. All of these books need more love, really. So those are some of my really seriously underrated books that I think you guys should read. What's a really underrated book that you think I should read? Let me know down below. If you guys like this video, don't forget the like button. If you haven't already but would like to, go and hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to follow me on social media for more bookish stuff, check out the links down below. Alrighty, bye guys.